In a world where money decides everything, feelings become a bargaining chip. What if love is just a contract signed for a year? He's a rich businessman who's used to controlling everything. She's a girl in a desperate situation. All they have to do is put on a show in front of the public. But what do they do when the play goes too far? Fate collides to people from completely different worlds. Liam Caldwell is a 32-year-old billionaire, owner of the largest financial company, used to getting his own way. Sophie Tanaka is a 24-year-old waitress living from paycheck to paycheck. They would never have crossed paths if it weren't for a strange proposal. Liam has offered her a deal, a sham marriage for a year in exchange for financial support and a carefree life. For him, it's just a way to save his reputation and avoid an unwanted marriage to a woman his family imposes on him. For Sophie, it's a chance to save her seriously ill brother. Sophie signs a contract without realizing what she is getting into. Now she has to live in a luxurious mansion, attend social events, and pretend to be in love with a man she barely knows. But the more time they spend together, the harder it becomes to hold boundaries. Liam is used to hiding his emotions, but Sophie somehow gets through his armor. He catches himself looking for her gaze, that he wants to see her smile, but love has never been part of their deal. At first, Sophie tried to keep her distance. Liam seemed a cold, calculating man, incapable of real feelings. But as time passed, she began to see something else behind his mask of indifference, longing, loneliness, the wounds of the past that he didn't show anyone. One night, during a social gathering, Liam took Sophie to the balcony away from the crowd. He stared at her for a long time, as if trying to understand something. Then he said quietly, "You're the first person who isn't afraid of me." Sophie didn't know what to say. Every day their relationship grew more complicated. They knew there was a line between them that they couldn't cross. But one day, Liam caught her hand in the corridor, pulled her to him and whispered, "Tell me it's just a game and I'll let go." Sophie couldn't tell. Their feelings became obvious to everyone, even to those who wished them harm. Someone was watching them. Someone didn't want their marriage to be happy. And then strange things began to happen. Someone called Sophie in the middle of the night. Someone planted threatening letters on her. Liam didn't tell Sophie the whole truth. He had a lot of enemies. And now that he'd let himself fall in love, they knew how to destroy him. One night when Sophie was walking home, a stranger called out to her. In the darkness of the alley, she noticed a tall silhouette. The voice was low, cold. "You're here for nothing, girl. Leave before it's too late." Sophie's heart beat faster, but before she could say anything, the stranger vanished into the shadows. Liam found her on the stairs outside the entrance, trembling with fear. He instantly realized something was wrong. "Who was that?" His voice sounded strained. Sophie barely spoke out. "They know about me. They want me to leave." The next morning, Liam canceled all his appointments. He ordered a check of the security cameras, but found nothing. It seemed the threat was elusive. "You're under my protection," he said, but there was a flicker of fear in his eyes. A week had passed. Tension hung in the air. Liam became more cautious, but Sophie sensed he was hiding something. "There's something you're not telling me, Liam," she said one evening. He looked up at her slowly. "I'm just trying to protect you." But the truth couldn't stay hidden forever. The phone rang one night. Liam picked up the phone and was silent for a few seconds, then his face contorted with anger. "You know what I'll do if you lay a finger on her," he said quietly, but his voice sounded like steel. Liam hardly ever left her alone after that. He hired guards, but he never left her side. But Sophie began to notice a change in him. He was no longer that cold, calculating businessman. He was afraid. "Tell me everything," Sophie demanded one night. Liam closed his eyes as if gathering his wits, then spoke. "It's not just business. It's not just a contract. I've brought you into a dangerous world." Sophie felt an icy fear run down her spine. A dangerous world. She interjected, but in the back of her mind she already knew the answer. Liam looked up at her. "Yes, the contract wasn't just for my convenience. It was to protect you." "From who?" Sophie's voice shook. Liam stood up and stepped closer, as if he was about to tell her something horrible. "From people who didn't want you near me." Sophie felt her world crumbling. She thought it was just a contract. Now it looked like a real trap. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she whispered. Liam ran a hand through his hair, inhaling nervously. "I thought I could work things out on my own." but they made me realize they wouldn't back down. The silence between them was heavy. Now what? Sophie felt her heart pounding. Liam looked at her with a tenderness she hadn't expected. Now I won't let you leave. But Liam's world was crumbling faster than he could control. It was only a few days before he realized they'd found a way to get to Sophie. You have to leave, he said one evening, his voice firm but desperation burning in his eyes. Sophie shook her head. I can't leave you. Liam ran his hand over her face, as if memorizing every feature. You have no idea what they're capable of, he whispered. But Sophie has made her choice. She won't leave. Even if it costs her everything. The next day, Liam learned that the threat had become real. One of his men reported that someone was watching the house. They're close by, he said, clutching the phone in his hand. Sophie noticed a change in his behavior. He became more tense, rarely left his office and was constantly calling someone. You can't hide this from me, she said one evening. Liam sighed. I'm trying to protect you, he replied. Sophie stepped closer. You can't do this alone. The next morning they were awakened by the sound of breaking glass. Liam jumped up sharply from the bed, pulling a gun from the nightstand. Stay here, he ordered. But Sophie couldn't just sit and wait. She followed him quietly, her heart pounding in her chest. Liam went downstairs. A broken window, shards on the floor, and in the shadows someone stood. You know why I'm here, the stranger said in a cold voice. Liam slowly raised his weapon. Get out, he said firmly. But the stranger only grinned. Too late. At that moment Sophie did something no one expected. She came out of hiding and said, If you want him, take me. Liam turned around, eyes widening in horror. Sophie, no, he shouted. But it was too late. The stranger grinned. That's how interesting it is. He stepped closer. Love makes people so stupid. Liam realized he couldn't let Sophie get hurt. Time seemed to slow down as he pulled the trigger. The stranger's body collapsed to the floor. It was over. Or was it? Sophie rushed to Liam, her eyes filling with tears. You saved me, she whispered. But Liam couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. In his world, there was always a price to pay for mistakes. Love, duty, and danger were all intertwined in one tangle. But is it really over? If you want to find out what happens next, support us. Let's get 5,000 likes and we'll release the sequel to this story. Subscribe, like, and write in the comments. What would you do if you were the heroes?